Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Obviously, Tuesday video coming out here. This one is all about the Sabretooth Sasquatch synergy nerf situation. So as you know, we covered this yesterday. We talked about the fact that obviously Kabam hadn't made any kind of announcement on this. There's been so much hype over the last few days. Coming back to work in the community and obviously gathering stories together, this was a bit of the biggest one that I could really find. Now, in yesterday's video, I did talk about this and as well look at the viability. As Imran says here, YouTubers going crazy after the synergy. They are showing Sabretooth so powerful that it might convince Kabam to nerf this synergy like they did it before. But to ramping up Sabretooth to that level, it needs 1,200 to 2,000 units worth of revives and potions and even more. They're doing it in CCP. That's why they can spam dozens of revives and lots of potions, but it's not practical in actual contest. And obviously with someone further going to say it's still a great synergy without using all those revives, you still will get like 50 Furies. Yeah, in many of the videos that you saw over the weekend, it does show a ramp up. Obviously the same principle would be that you're working towards something the same way as a persistent charge is working towards something. So should something that like that situation be nerfed? Yes, it creates unrealistic situations that if you go, right, well, as soon as I start, I'm like, I'm going to churn a load of units into this, and I'm like, boom, I'm ready to go with some high hitting damage, or down the line, I've worked towards that high hitting damage, so therefore something in this situation, is it fair to nerf it? The same situation would be like, well, with Aegon building up, obviously the way it builds up, with other champions that do persistent charges, and say scaling over time, like say, okay, if you've got 20 fights, and you use the likes of Mr. Sinister, then therefore are you exploiting the situation based on that champion having stuff in its signature ability, its makeup, or synergies in this case. So overnight, Kabam, Mike and the team put together like getting feedback from players. Obviously in the past, I think it was the case that you weren't really given feedback and you're basically told where Kabam's stance was. So Kabam wanted to hear back from the players on this one. And first of all, they came up with this. Said, all right, everybody, we've read your feedback and thoughts and we agree the solution that's been tossed around here. We're going to apply a cap of 25 at least. We're still tuning at this point of this particular forum interaction on the amount of permanent passive Fury effects that Sabretooth can have on him at a time. He can still gain Fury buffs or Furies from nodes, etc. But the permanent Fury effects he receives from this kit, so through the synergy, never exceed 25 or whatever number is settled on. This is a number that is feasibly higher than Sabretooth is capable of hitting with his base kit right now and still gives him the potential to be very potent attacker. But here's the thing, the story kind of like gets a little bit more deeper because then players obviously are responding back to that feedback and it looks like it is settled to be this. So Kabam Mike says, alright, we're moving ahead with this change. Sabretooth will be given a cap of 30 permanent passive Fury effects that he can have on him at a time. He can still gain Fury buffs or Furies from nodes, etc. But the permanent Fury effects he receives from his kit will never exceed 30. And just to give you an idea of what 30 passive Furies actually look like based on this particular situation, Karate Mike has put together a video on that subject. I've put a link to it in the description down below. Obviously, this is very important because you have to really identify if you are going for Sabretooth, this is going to be the big thing. The big thing about whether or not this is worthy. And still the issue about ramping up the champion based on, well, look, you're going to do that severe unit spend or you're going to work towards it and play the long game. Obviously for me, I'm more interested in playing the long game. I don't want to spend extensive amounts of units for no apparent reason. But to get to this point, but the damage is actually really tasty. You know, we're going to see here, like, look at those. Those kind of like big yellow numbers are really nice and very tasty, and also the Fury numbers, the bleed numbers are really potent and fun, and could be some really good options very early on against a lot of things in Abyss of Legends, and has really kind of tickled my fancy when it comes to getting Sabretooth and Sasquatch paired up, even for the likes of doing things like incursions, which could be something that myself and Dan do very, very soon. If you don't know, we run a series where we just do incursions testing every Friday, so come on by to that one. But yeah, this is impressive to see. Well, there we go. That's been a little bit of a deep dive on the situation of Sabretooth. I must admit, I am a little bit annoyed because I've just 100%ed Labyrinth for Legends, and I'm like, this would have been a big kind of time saver over time. I'm not going to say it's like I'm going to start from and just spend 2,000 units for no reason, and just for a case of going like, if I was to do this, you know, on the long game and kind of like play the long game with it, then maybe it would have been of value to say, like, okay, well, you know, 15, 20, 30, whatever fights, how many fights in that I was able to like get that kind of damage as it ramped up and scaled up would still be quite nice. But still, I think there's a lot of testing that needs to be done with this to see about the viability, and I'll probably wait myself until I got Sasquatch to then recommend this synergy myself, especially for doing, say, Labyrinth for Legends guides, which I'm going to do a load of very soon, and also look at the comparability with, like, you know, still with Aegon, still equally good, you know, those kind of things and factors as well. What are your thoughts on this Sasquatch situation when it comes to the Sabretooth synergy? Are you happy with the compromise? Are you not? Put it in the comment section down below. Of course, the official answer is here by Kabam, basically stating what we've just seen. So Sabretooth will now have a cap of 30 permanent passive Fury effects at a time. He can still gain Fury buffs, as we know, doesn't exceed 30. And also, like, I think the main thing is like an ETA, which they're saying we don't have an ETA for this update yet. We are working fast as possible. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff going on at the moment Kabam need to deal with, especially from the future of the game's perspective. Magneto buffs, the champion boss fight change, not to mention next month's Cavalier difficulty, and so many other things as well. And as well, they've got Variant 5 to be working on. So there's a lot that they need to get done. And I don't know if this is this is one of these things where it just comes about the worst time, but it needs to be dealt with, because otherwise I think everybody will be ranking up and utilizing resources and kind of going like, right, well, now Kabam have to send out you know, rank down tickets and resource rebuilds and rebalance stuff. So it's like, it's best that they do this now before it gets worse for them from a time grind and time work perspective. There we go, that's been a little kind of like Tuesday news on this situation. I've got 2 other videos to post today, and then on Wednesday I do my Labyrinth for Legends crystal opening, and then it's the case we start looking towards ranking up champions, preparing for things like Abyss of Legends, and as well 100%ing Act 6.2, except for 6.2.6, which obviously based on next month we'll see some changes. So lots of stuff's happening, and as well a few other bits of content as well, and I'm working on some guides. So see you all soon for some more content. Bye bye for now.